it would be wrong if the decision was, well, we don't think this is safe, but these guys really want to do it. That would, I think, objectively be the wrong way to make that decision. So these are the leaders, and they seem convinced of what they're hearing from the medical studies and the medical people that this isn't a good idea, and that's where we're at with these two conferences.
Dan, I mean, did this rapidly happen in 2 weeks that they knew this, or why haven't they been?
Welcome to Sikkim 365 Radio.
We're excited about playing. I know the last 2 days in particular, the anxiety and stress, both coaches and players, was something that we talked quite a bit about. It's been discussed really throughout.
Sikkim 365 Radio is presented by IdealMRI.com. High-quality MRIs for $497 or less. IdealMRI.com. Your health is important, so is your budget.
Our team chemistry, I feel, is good. And I feel like it's going to be a strength for us when we start playing football.
The 3 o'clock hour is sponsored by Waco Custom Marketplace. Meats, sweets, Texas treats, and a cut above the rest. 425 Lake Air Drive, Waco.
You know, he winked at me when he took some of my Fig Newtons yesterday. And so, but not with the scheduling. So I think, it's great to have Mack Rhoades on our side. It really is.
Have you downloaded the Sikkim 365 Radio app? Do it today on the App Store and Google Play. Here's David Smoke, Paul Catalina, and Craig Smoke.
Well, here we go on this day after college football, at least for now, has been saved by the Big 12 decision after we went off the air last night. The Big 12 votes to continue on, moving forward, forging ahead. They released their schedule today. Dave Aranda, Bob Bowlesby, both were available. Dave Aranda, Zoom meeting, and also Bob Bowlesby with a teleconference with national media on both as well. Good afternoon, David Smoke with Paul Catalina, Craig Smoke. Woodrow chilling out with us today here at the broadcast center for Sikkim 365 Radio. We'll have Gerard Douglas, the former Baylor running back, with us, everything running back at Judson High School. He'll be a part of the show. John Machota's a part of the show, among some others today, plus comments from Aranda and Bowlesby. But I don't think, and this is not me telling you, this is others telling me to pass it on to you. Dr. Ackerman from the Mayo Clinic, text messages from those involved in the administration and athletics, was a rock star yesterday. And we happened to just stumble into that. And I just got off the phone with somebody else in Baylor administration about, you have no idea what that interview and his knowledge did. You know what? Bob Bowlesby alluded to him. Mack Rhoades, of course, said he had talked to him. And it's amazing that man ended up being, in some cases, kind of a huge difference maker in some of the decisions made last night.
Yeah, it was, when you have somebody who gives you a method for doing something, it's a lot easier than if you just, throw up your hands like the Big Ten did and say, well, we don't know about all this stuff. And the Big 12's been very transparent the last couple days. I think it's kind of strange. We went through years of thinking the Big Ten was this big organized conference, and it really, comes down to Jim Delaney's gone, Kevin Warren's there, and all of a sudden the Big 12 looks smarter all of a sudden.
Yeah, Big Ten looks a little bit somewhat fractured, although, again, that looks like that's been calmed down just because of what Kevin Warren said about Nebraska or anyone else. Greg?
I mean, on Dr. Ackerman, that's great. That was a fun interview to listen to. I'm not sure, I mean, you're saying it had some influence, so that's fantastic. Not why we had him on, obviously. We're just trying to figure some things out, but no, that's good. It makes me wonder how many other people they were talking to, if that was so enlightening, you know what I mean, that there's so many just different medical opinions. So for him to be one that kind of helped push it a certain way, I think is great. And, yeah, the Big Ten, I don't see the Nebraska marriage lasting for the long haul based on the fact that they've been kind of singled out for what they've said, despite what Ohio State has said and Michigan has said and others have said. The Big Ten seems to be kind of, at least a fan base, anti-Nebraska at the moment because they've said what they've said. So I guess that's just because they're not a day one. The others, they just ignore. Like, we know the other team said it too, but we're just going to focus on Nebraska.
But you're lucky to be here, Nebraska.
Well, the bottom line is they're not going to be a part of the Big 12. And Bob Bowlesby mentioned that. So Baylor's schedule came out. We have a lot to get to in a short amount of time. Gerard Douglas at the bottom of the hour. So let's try to break this down. And we also have Paul was able to take Dave Aranda, Bob Bowlesby, break it down, and we'll have that for you as well. First of all, we still don't know Baylor's opening game, whether it's Louisiana Tech or University of Incarnate Word. There was a laugh, a sense of humor from Dave Aranda when I asked him that question, and we'll have that here in just a minute. But so they'll open up September 12th. They hope to have an off week and then Kansas, which is a perfect setup. They're home against Kansas, at West Virginia, another open week, which is kind of a buffer. Home against Oklahoma State, at Texas, home against TCU. On the road, Iowa State, Texas Tech. Open again, Kansas State at home, and then they end the year. And if they get to that point, the conference schedule game against Oklahoma. There's a lot of matchups. A lot of them have been moved around, and Mack Rhodes kind of told us that was going to happen in the first place. Now, a couple of things that Bob Bowlesby said. First of all, this is a quote, then we'll get to Dave Aranda on what the players and what the staff saw or when they found out. This is a great quote from him, Bob Bowlesby. On challenges of making the plans for a season, what we found out was golden 60 days ago is garbage today.
Yes. That's a great way to put how COVID-19 works.
Nobody has told us it's poorly advised to go forward and do what we're doing. If our doctors and scientists tell us you've got two wheels off the track, we'll pivot that day. He said Nebraska had not contacted them. That was a question asked by somebody in the teleconference. And then he also was asked about anytime anyone at any level has decided they're not going to play, that affects us. I don't know if we would want to play only a conference, be the only conference playing. And that makes sense as well. If you're the only one playing, I don't even care if you're the SEC. No matter what, you're not a part of trying to win a championship except the conference. Nobody else has been in their plans or is in their plans going forward.
As far as
the conference.
Yeah, I mean, I don't really see what they could do. I mean, the Big Ten's not going to let Nebraska play. There was the BYU thought, but that seems to have dissipated over the last week or so. So, I mean, you're only looking for one game. So, I mean, there's not really a need to go try to pluck a Nebraska, or even if you were able to do it. Now, if you're able to do it, I think it would be smart. If I'm the Big 12, though, I'm certainly laying seeds for Nebraska for 3 years from now. I mean, why not start laying those seeds? I mean, the granted rights agreements are going to come up. Who knows what will happen over the next 3 years, but I'm trying to bring the welcome back party for Nebraska football to the Big 12, and then, go find a 12th team, and, hey, you're back to being the Big 12, and that's a big enough school with enough influence in a new state that's been there before that would make a ton of sense. You could almost go back to doing the North and South divisions if you wanted to do it that way. So just saying, I would start planting those seeds right now if I was the Big 12 for 3 years from now.
All right, so Dave Aranda, he talked about how the team was just at a completely different focus last night at practice. These are comments from today's Zoom meeting. The Willis Law Firm chat room is open on Sikkim 365, the premium section. A bunch of you were involved in that yesterday. The Riverbend Liquor and Wine text line, 254-339-1122. That's open as well. Here's Dave Aranda when the players and everyone found out the Big 12 would be moving forward.
We're excited about playing. I know the last 2 days in particular, the anxiety and stress, both coaches and players, was something that we talked quite a bit about. Now, it's been discussed really throughout, but the last 2 days in particular, just you couldn't help but know that guys were looking at their phones in the breaks and getting the updates as things were updated just around the country. And so it's a credit to our coaches and our players that these last 2 days have been two of our better practices. Just continue to get better and better. And, you look at, the care factor of our team is so impressed. And so anyways, when it became evident, you started to leak out last night during meetings. And so you could just see the joy on our players' faces. You could see everyone was smiling. Guys were cracking jokes. They were excited. You could see that there was a weight lifted off their shoulders. So I believe that we can effectively play football in the COVID-19 era, and I believe that our health and wellness team has so much faith in them, and just when you sit down and you talk with Kenny Boyd, Matt Keel, and you sit down and you talk with Mac Rhodes, just the thoughtfulness that goes into just every little thing. I'm caught at times where, I didn't think of that or I should have thought about this more. And so I constantly connect with them as we navigate this. And so I've got a lot of faith in our team, got a lot of faith in our players in terms of doing the right things. I think nowhere at any point in the past is taking care of each other as important as it is now. And so doing the right things, right, not only affects you, but affects others around you. And so the self-accountability is so high. And I think, we have an advantage in that area.
You could tell that they're razor focused. The door's open. Don't screw it up.
Well, and he said that he feels the team's already, at the point where they have enough maturity to where they get that, like, maybe your social life is going to take a hit.
Yeah, of course it is. I mean, these guys are not going to be able to go out to the bars on Saturday nights after the games. They're not going to be able to go to frat parties after the games or the Friday night before or whatever the case may be. The typical college lifestyle that they're accustomed to is not going to be able to happen if they want to play football. So if you want to play football, then you're going to have a boring semester. If you don't want to play football, then go have fun. Maybe, either way contract COVID. That's the thing is, like, there's not, like, some solution other than just bunkering down in your house and pretending like atom bombs are dropping. That's the only way to avoid it without bunkering down. So it's part of the deal, and these guys are going to have to be smart. And if they're not, then it's going to be like the St. Louis Cardinals or the Marlins or any other example of teams that we've seen have to bow out before their seasons even get started or once they even have gotten started. So, yeah, this is an accountability thing for each individual, and you have to know that if you're not washing your hands or you're going and you're, dalliancing around with, some random people and partying and doing all that and then going to practice the next day, then you could have an effect on the entire team and infect everybody. And so everybody's got to be smart, and he seems to have faith that they will be.
Paul, is the group of the questions that I asked him,
all there.
Does it include the cookies?
No. That's on the schedule. That's the other one.
Okay. So here's Dave Aranda. Everyone had a chance to ask him questions. Craig did a great job of putting up all the quotes that mattered. Paul got the audio. We were all a part of it. Here's Dave Aranda, a couple of questions, football related.
The togetherness you've talked about so much during this time, through the no spring drills and staying in touch and then being off campus, and now what you see that they see hope, is that kind of what you built along the way, this togetherness as a program, that we will figure it out?
I think so. I think a lot of it was already built, and so you look at like a lot of talks this morning with Joey McGuire on how he sees things and his feeling of where the team is. Last night was talking with Sean Bell that way. Yesterday was talking with David Wetzel. I think there's so many guys that are just so close to our players that have such a great kind of pulse that I think it's kind of a collective thing. I'm so proud of the coaching staff because I feel like the opportunity early in quarantine was there to connect, and they did it. and in talking to the players, I try to hit about 5 or 6 guys every night. And so when we talk, how's your family doing? Kind of what you think of practice today? What could you get better? What could we do better? And so I think there's an appreciation on both sides of it for just caring about each other and looking after each other and checking up on each other. So I think our team chemistry, I feel, is good. And I feel like it's going to be a strength for us when we start playing football.
Is it okay, Taylor, if I follow up?
Yeah.
Dave, because the things have been pushed back, the schedule's been pushed back, what appears to be maybe another week or two, is that going to help make up for lost time from back in the spring because you'll be with them a little bit longer before you play the first game?
It will. I think I think it goes both ways. So I feel like, there's players. So we just finished basically playing a spring ball. If you looked at it with the OTAs and then the first couple of days of fall camp. And so we just finished spring ball right now with this day off. And then I think both player and coaching wise, I think the reality of it going in, everyone was hopeful, but we're kind of going into, or really, summer going into fall. Are we going to play? I don't know if we're going to play. They say we're going to play. Maybe we're not. Maybe we are. And I think there's a stress, anxiety, tension that everyone's carrying. And now that we have a direction and we know where we're going, I feel like there is some energy there, but there's also been quite a bit of energy just spent up on carrying the not knowing. And so I feel like that combined with the first game possibly being on the 12th, there is the possibility of it being on the 19th. And so I think what we're looking at right now is taking these next couple of days and having more of an OTA model of trying to get rest and recovery for our players. I think a little bit of rest and recovery for our coaches, an opportunity to game plan whoever is coming first in that first game, and then really kind of starting up again with camp on Monday.
And so there's always the thought, can you sometimes get him outside that mode, right, Dave Aranda? So then my question was, they know we're going to play a non-conference game the first game, but they just don't know who it's against, Louisiana Tech or University of Incarnate Word, and that might come out tonight. By the way, the Big 12 has released its 25% capacity. Baylor has released their tickets, single-game tickets, whatever else as well. You can go to BaylorBears.com for more information on that. So then I was like, what the hell? Did Mac give you any kind of an idea who you should start watching film on, La Tech or Incarnate Word?
Dave, has Mac Rhodes winked at you whether you should start planning for Louisiana Tech or Incarnate Word or somebody else in a non-conference game?
No, but he winked at me when he took some of my Fig Newtons yesterday. And so, but not with the scheduling. So I think he. It's great to have Mac Rhodes on our side. It really is. And so just so impressed with him, Jeremiah Dickey, and just that team. I'm really proud to be on this side of it. So I think for what you're talking about, I was on the phone prior to this call and it had to do with what you're talking about. So that this is happening right now. And so, it helps us. I think it helps everybody, but I know for us, especially with these next couple of days, we want to know who we're playing so we can have some form of game plan prior to getting back into camp mode. And so it's something that we're on right now.
Breaking news in college football, and not about schedules, but Coach Bill Yeoman, 92 years old, passed away. The very innovative coach, ran that Houston Veer like nothing. you could ever imagine. They really made an impact in the Southwest Conference. Hell of a coach, 92 years old. He passed away at the age of 92. Your thoughts, Craig, overall, and Paul as well, about anything else you heard? And there's some other X's and O's stuff about what he brought up, and we'll get to that from you and Paul.
Let's see. I think it was interesting that he, mentioned the running backs will be a strength. He mentioned Ebner as being a guy that can do a variety of different things for them. If you look at how LSU used Clyde Edwards-Helaire last year, think about how that worked and apply that to how they're going to probably use their running backs in a lot of situations. They're not going to just be in the backfield. They're going to be in a lot of different formations and being used flexed out and things like that. So that'll be fun to see how that develops, especially given the talent in that group. And he mentioned Ebner in particular, and I think that makes total sense based on what we've seen him do. For him, it's just going to be a matter of health, quite frankly. He also mentioned Squirrel Williams, and Craig Williams has not seen the field in quite some time, at least in front of our eyes, because he was hurt pretty much all of last year, and apparently he had another recent little minor nagging injury that prevented him from practicing right away. But he's been back now, according to Aranda, for the last couple of days and has looked fantastic. So he had some positive words about him, also spoke positively about the D-line, which last week in his conference call was the one area that he sort of singled out as far as where they're going to have to put in a lot of work. He felt pretty good about their length in the secondary and their athleticism, and they could play a lot of man there. He really liked the linebackers group, if you include the star position with that. But the D-line, he liked the talent. He just didn't really, see them having major impacts right away without putting in a lot of work. And so today he mentioned Garmin Randolph. He mentioned TJ Franklin, the Temple native, as two guys who have stood out. And he said they're going to be good on the D-line. They just, they've got some work to do, but they're going to be good there. So those were a couple of things that stood out.
Oh, yeah, and it's not a coincidence that the best season that Baylor's had on defense and the closest they really came from to contending for a conference title since those days, and contended for it all year long until the very last game of the conference title game. The reason that happened is because they had the best defensive line in the Big 12 last year, by a long shot. They had the best defensive line, and all those guys are gone, so they're all going to have to step up. I think it was, one of the things he talked about was the leadership of the team and Charlie Brewer and how fiery he is, which is, I know that and you know that, but like to hear Charlie Brewer talk a lot of the time, you wouldn't get fiery. The only time we really saw him fiery was after that Rice game. And like I remember, we got in the car smoking and said, I love angry Charlie Brewer. I think angry Charlie Brewer, fiery Charlie Brewer is a heck of a thing. And so we've heard some of that. And he talked about the team's already built some chemistry. So that's kind of a shout out to the old coaching staff and that they already had a base. He didn't have to come in and teach them. I think that's the biggest thing for Dave Aranda and probably why a lot of guys would have wanted a job taking over for Matt Rule, because you don't have to come in and teach people how to act.
Right.
You don't have to come in and say, like, oh, this was bad or this was bad. You know what I haven't heard one single time? We've got to get these guys stronger. We've got to do this. It's not like, oh, the culture they didn't know how to lift weights, which is what you always hear when it's a bad changeover. You don't hear that at all.
It's not a typical coaching change. It's not the typical coaching change where it's like it was so bad they had to fire the guy and bring somebody else in. You're right. And it's really refreshing to hear the way that he talks about the way things were done, because most guys would shy away from that. Everything's got to be brand new. Everything's got to be the way that they want to do it. And there's going to be a lot of things that Dave Aranda does that are going to be his own style and his own fingerprints and all of that. But as far as like the work ethic and the focus and all the intangibles that Matt Rule was able to help build as part of that foundation of the program, or rebuild, I should say, that carryover is really nice to have, especially in a situation like this. It would have been great for a first-year head coach anyways, but I think especially given what he's faced so far in this first year that is not normal at all. It all sounded great. Like there was, some individual players that were kind of recognized just as far as some who have stood out or some he's taken notice of, and clearly they're just going to work, and it sounds like they're very relieved that they're at least, being given an opportunity to play versus having to practice and not really know if they were really practicing for anything or not even being able to practice. So now they know they can practice, and they're actually, until told otherwise, moving towards a game. I caution everybody to keep in mind that the Big 12's message is, hey, we're going to move forward, but we got to see how everything goes. And so the real test, not to dampen spirits or anything, because, hey, it's the dampened spirits are in the north right now and all the places, the West Coast that shut down. But it will be interesting to see how far along they get, students come back on campus and all that.
No, it's day by day, man.
Yeah.
It's every single day. The next thing that has not been answered is who's the non-conference game, La Tech, University of Incarnate Word. Either way, that will be their first game. Then a bye, an off week, and, of course, they'll play Kansas.
And they have,
gets to that
3
point.
buys built into the schedule.
Yeah, very smart.
Yeah.
Also, Matt in D.C., the new schedule really helps Baylor. Instead of Morgantown, when it's 40 degrees, it's going to be 65 because of when they're playing. T-Rex, I've booked a hotel for every away game. Flights are scheduled. The hunt for tickets begins. Who will join me behind enemy lines? The prophecy of Baylor domination will be fulfilled in 2020. And T-Rex also put up a really nice note about us today, along with many others on Twitter. All right, so that's kind of where we are with Dave Aranda. We kind of used a little bit of what Bob Bowlesby said. We have more of that, but we pretty much touched on what mattered. We'll come back. We hope to have Gerard Douglas, former Baylor and Converse Judson running back, one of the better running backs in Baylor history. During a time, obviously, when they were starting to, hit that before they hit the roadblock. We'll come back with that. Also today, John Machota, Jerry Jones spoke today. Did he ever? On Dak, on the stadium, on expecting to play with fans at AT&T Stadium. And now AT&T Stadium is built with the ventilation system that should allow them to be able to have fans watch their team at AT&T Stadium. So what did we not touch on other than Big 12 schedules out? Conversations from Aranda?
I think we can probably, if we have some more time, kind of not like analyze each game, but go through it a little bit. Just, kind of some of the differences from what it was originally. But, that's if we just have some extra time somewhere. I think we pretty much hit on the major things Aranda had to say. They're just relieved and happy to be now working towards something that they know is, for right now, promised. And, all with the knowledge that at any point in time they could be told, hey, stop. But until that point comes, they're going to move on like everything's normal. I know everybody's got a difference of opinions, but this is what they want to do. This is what these players want to do, and they're going to get the chance to. That's great.
All right. By the way, this morning on Get Up on ESPN, Desmond Howard said this about Nebraska, which I think is ridiculous. I would demand a public apology from Nebraska, and if I'm Kevin Warren, I'm working on a way to get their ass out of the Big Ten. They ain't Notre Dame, baby. They don't have that cachet.
Well, that's fine. Desmond, enjoy that national championship that you had to share. Wasn't that
why do you think he's pissed?
Yeah, no.
I mean, that's what it is.
And Desmond Howard does seem, and that's fine. That's his opinion.
You know what?
And Michigan is as they are, along with Ohio State, the UT of the Big Ten. They don't like anyone telling them that they're not it, or they want other people want more things.
We will see in time. We will see over the next few months who was right in trying to play and who was wrong in trying to play, right, or not trying to play. And I don't really want to pick a side. And I hope that it works out for the Big 12 and the SEC and the ACC and the AAC. I hope that it does. Not so that the Big 10 has egg on their face, although it would be fun to see the Pac-12 look foolish again. But the arrogance of that statement from Desmond Howard, not surprising because he's a pretty arrogant guy to begin with. So, just funny to me how you gloss over Ohio State, your big rival. But I guess because they're an original, they can do whatever they want with no repercussions. And basically because they've been carrying Michigan's ass and the rest of the Big Ten's ass for a while now, that they can do whatever they want. But, hey, God forbid Nebraska says something.
Were you at the Super Bowl in Detroit? I don't think.
I
remember that thing?
Vaguely remember it.
We went to this really nice steak and seafood restaurant. It was snowing. We walked in. We had our credentials. Some of us had our credentials around our necks. And this big guy walked in with his wife, I guess, to have dinner. And he saw that we were from Texas. And he started taking shots at George W. Bush.
Oh, dude. Yeah, I remember that.
And the arrogance of, you're from – that's who they are.
Yeah,
by the way, Art Briles – go ahead.
Go ahead now. You mentioned his name.
Art Briles on Bill Yeoman. He was very instrumental to me getting hired in 2002 when I came back to the University of Houston. Very, very vocal in support of me. He helped me get the job there.
Yeah, that was one of the most arrogant things I've actually ever witnessed in person from a complete stranger. Like, it was just, like, why would you, like, who thinks that way to talk to a complete stranger and completely label and stereotype them and then assume their politics and assume, but it was just this northern arrogance of, you're from the South, you must be dumb and not know how to read or something. I don't know what, but that guy was a jerk.
Yeah.
And
that's who they are.
And that's basically how Desmond Howard's acting in some ways, but that's kind of par for the course for him as well.
Browse, one more thought on the passing. He knew me when I was 18, instrumental in my life there, especially with the tragedy I went through with my mother and father. Support and the coaching staff and players still hold dear to my heart today. Desmond. Gerard Douglas next on Sikkim 365 Radio. Alan Samuels, Dodge Chrysler, Jeep, Ram, Fiat. Come by. Let's be friends. Here's what they have right now at Loop 340 and east of 84 in Waco. The new 2020 Ram Lone Star Crew Cabs, 0% for 72 months, no payments for 90 days. That's both. The world's most awarded SUV, the Grand Cherokee from Jeep, 0% for 72 months, no payments for 90 days. Also the same offer on the Cherokee, Renegade, and Compass under the Jeep umbrella. And many dealerships are running low on selection. Alan Samuels loaded up with new inventory. And right now, the perfect time to upgrade your ride and save thousands during the summer clearance event. 5 different states where they have dealerships where they can find what you need and get it to you as quickly as possible. Also, of course, 100% on board the safe shopping experience. Apply online if you want as well. Alan Samuels, DCJ.com, Loop 340 east of 84 in Waco. At Ideal MRI, we feel blessed to be a part of the Waco community. We're a small family business right here in Central Texas, and our goal is to bring down the cost of healthcare while maintaining high quality. At times like this, the cost of healthcare has never been more important, and unfortunately, significant illnesses and injuries still occur. That's why Ideal MRI is open and here to serve you through the difficult time. We offer premium MRIs just like a hospital with state-of-the-art technology and specialists, but you'll pay less. Sometimes thousands of dollars less, whether you're using insurance or not. At Ideal MRI, we accept most insurance and there are no hidden costs, even offering financing if that's needed. Everything included in the price, and you'll not get something as a surprise in the mail later on. If you need an MRI, ask your doctor about Ideal MRI. They'll know. You can schedule an appointment safely from home online in minutes at idealmri.com or give us a call, 833-IDEAL-MRI, idealmri.com.
Hey, this is Bryce Petty, former starting quarterback and 2-time Big 12 champion, and I know firsthand the importance of being in top shape both on and off the field. So listen up, men. If you're feeling beat down day in and day out and looking for that high-performance edge that separates the men from the boys, then look no further than the Petty Clinic Low T in Waco. Petty Clinic is a comprehensive men's healthcare clinic with an atmosphere catering to men. Board-certified Dr. Kent Petty has a special interest in offering the highest quality medical care to men of all ages. Some of the services offered include screening and treatment for low testosterone or thyroid, infertility, high blood pressure, diabetes, high cholesterol, sleep apnea, while offering comprehensive wellness exams and complete men's health lab panels. High performance men, remember, it's not just a Petty thing. This is Bryce Petty, encouraging you to reach out and Google search Petty Clinic Low T or go to pettycliniclowt.com and get your complimentary lab screening today.
It takes time to reach goals. It's a truth that applies to more than sports. It goes for your financial goals as well. You work hard for your money, and you deserve an investment strategy that lines up with your game plan. And Tom Albers, your Edward Jones financial advisor, can help. If your financial investments aren't putting forth the effort you desire, stop by today for a financial review. Tom Albers, 4301 Lakeshore Drive, 254-776-7605. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
You want to know why Stonewood Dental is so successful? Listen to what happy customers have to say.
Pleasant. It's different than any other dentist office. I really feel like they care. And it's not that you're here for 2 hours waiting on someone to take care of you. It's quick and easy, and you know, I bring my kids, and my kids love being here too. They really love the treasure box. Staff is really nice and accommodating, real friendly. You feel more like home. It's not sterile looking. Everybody has their own personalized rooms with decorations and decor, and they'll even have a blanket for you when it's cold. I've recommended people to actually come here, and they are patients now. I really love it here. It feels like family.
Learn more, stonewood-dental.com.
Waco's newest gym, Halo Athletic Center, 5725 Bagby Avenue, right behind Region 12 and across the highway from the Central Texas Marketplace, where motivation, inspiration, and hard work are the driving force. State-of-the-art equipment, indoor and outdoor track, locker rooms, showers, yoga and bar classes by Duality Yoga, Bod Pod potty composition analysis, and registered dietitians, all under one roof where we rise above. Come join the Halo Athletic Center and be a part of the change, your change.
Welcome back to Sikkim 365 Radio.
This segment on Baylor Athletics on Sikkim 365 Radio is brought to you by Richard Carr Buick GMC Cadillac, located at the Imperial Drive exit off Loop 340 in Waco. Proud supporters of all Baylor Athletics.
Gerard Douglas sent me a text just right as we were hitting the break, said, can we move it back to 4? So we'll hopefully have him at 4. We were wide open today at 4, which allows us to also 254-339-1122. Your thoughts about the Baylor schedule. We'll go break that down. Do you like this one rather than what it was? And the day after, what was the day of? And how do you feel now about college football? Yes, it's still a day-by-day, even an hour-by-hour before day-by-day process. But how much has your emotions, how much have they been through the washing machine cycle in the last 48 hours? 254-339-1122, also on Twitter as well. Craig Smoke, Paul Catalina, and I'm David Smokes. Gerard Douglas today will join us at 4 o'clock.
Yeah, I just had a memory when we were talking about that little interaction in Detroit with the political guy who just stereotyped us being from Texas. And I just wish I would have been smart enough back then. I was thinking about it during the break to, like, look at the guy and then, like, look around me at this burnt-out city with broken windows all over downtown and shells of buildings. Like, if you've never been to Detroit, like, it's hard to describe. It really is. Like, the things you hear are all true about just what a mess it is. And that was 15 years ago, if not 20 years ago. And I just wish I would have the wherewithal to look around and be like, yeah, you guys are doing great. This is you're really doing well with your decisions up here. But yeah, that was an interesting interaction. I'm seeing a lot of that kind of like nose in the air of like, we're smarter than you, stupid schools in the South or whatever. But man, there's not a single person out there that knows how this is going to work. No one. Only God himself could tell you what's probably going to happen, right? I mean, like, nobody knows. They could play an entire season. They could play half a season. They could play no games for all we know. But at least they're trying, and that's all, you know, I'm was really hoping for was just for them to at least give it a go and see. And, you know, the real test will be when students come back on campus. But for right now, it's business as usual. We've got a schedule. We've got practices. We've got media sessions. And I think that's great. There's no reason to not have all those right now.
I agree. So Baylor's come out with their ticket policy. That's going to be a discussion because there's going to be some people that don't like it.
What can you do? Like, I think we should make let's sign a pact as a society. Like,
you know what's good? Forget about the negative. My God, there's a ticket policy.
There's going to be some crap that's not going to work out for us. That's 2020.
Yeah. No. Here's part of it. Now, there is obviously some things. The 2020 game ticket delivered as mobile only. All season parking passes for the general seating bowl, excluding suite and lows, will have been eliminated. Parking will be distributed via mobile only passes. And let's see here. 25% capacity. That's not breaking news. Mack Rhodes told us that a week ago. Baylor Athletics, due to the large reduction in the ticket inventory, will defer season tickets for the 2021 campaign. McLean has been remanifested to support social distancing. Priority single-game tickets will be sold to season ticket holders first. Bear Foundation priority ranking will be determined for ticket selection and the maximum ticket amount for 6 per account per game will be implemented in the General Stadium Bowl.
They also mentioned in here that, and this is Mack Rhodes, they are expecting an approximate 20% revenue decline this year. So it says, it's basically reaching out to Bear Foundation members and asking for continued philanthropic support, because the wheels are still turning. So he did put that out there as well, 20% revenue decline this year. That's with everything remaining as is, with 25% capacity and with a full slate of games pretty much other than, a couple of non-conferences you had to knock off. And, that's steep. That's going to be, something that obviously they feel not nearly as much as, 100% of your revenue declining, or in the case of like a Wisconsin or whoever has been talking about like 80% of their, money or revenue, I should say, declining. So that's what those non-playing schools are facing. So, it's just interesting to kind of see a figure. And obviously, there's, a lot of things they're still working on as well for the future. But at least now what the sort of plan is. Your season tickets will be season tickets next year, and everything's going to be paperless and mobile as you mentioned. So this will be interesting to see. It'll be interesting to see, even with 12,000 people available, like how many people do show up. Will there be 11 or 12,000 people that all decide to come to games? We've had conversations ourselves on if there's no post-game press conference, which I can't see how there would be other than via Zoom. Like, what's the point in us really being at the stadium for a game? There's not really a point, quite frankly, to just go sit in the press box if there's no access. So, yeah, this is all, brand new, obviously, and it'd be very interesting to see.
And they're going to have, and I've already been told, there will be very few media members allowed because of the fact that they're going to have the social distancing. We might get out of all of who we have 1 or 2 passes. And we'll be fortunate if we do. We'll be happy, by the way. And then also a question about buses and transportation. We're not going to get to that now. We'll try to get those answers for you. Plus, Mack Rhodes will be with us, as he is every Tuesday next week. Gerard Douglas, young man that was an unbelievable record-breaking running back at Judson High School and then, of course, at Baylor, joins us now on Sikkim 365 Radio. Gerard, thanks for your time. When I say Gerard Douglas and Baylor, what are some things you remember the most?
First of all, how are you doing?
We're doing great. Great to have you on the show.
Good, thank you. From my memories, obviously playing with my teammates that, obviously became lifelong friends. The big stadiums, all of the fun game day atmosphere, it was all great.
You got to be here during that switch from the SWC to the Big 12. What was that like?
Actually, it was pretty cool to be a part of that. It was just exciting. You just knew you were going to end up being able to, at that point, I don't think it was a whole lot of television going on as far as like college football games for Baylor. And that was going to be more televised games. So, family back home can watch. I think pretty much it seemed like every game is televised these days. But back then it was like, hey, if you are 5-5, you're not going to be on TV.
Gerard, that 1995 season, you had over 1,000 yards, you had 8 touchdowns. Like, what just worked for you that season? I mean, obviously your teammates were involved as well, but what led to you having that big season in 1995?
It was a combination of things. We had a really good defense. Our offensive line was huge. And honestly, it was kind of my chance to, take over the starting role. I believe that was my sophomore year, and it was a exciting time, and it was just my time to kind of take advantage of my opportunity. And, we had some good play calling that kind of helped us out as well. But, we pretty much dialed in, had a pretty solid season. We just couldn't get over the big hump of, kind of beating A&M and Baylor at that. I mean, A&M and UT at that time, but it was some, pretty exciting games.
Larry Fedora was a coach on the staff when you were there, right?
Yes, he was.
He's now the offensive coordinator, and of course, that's a long time ago, and he's been a lot of different places: Oklahoma State, Southern Miss. Of course, he was at North Carolina, and he's back now at Baylor. Your thoughts about what he might bring to the table now, some 20 whatever years later?
Well, he was a really good coach back then. He was actually super young. He looked younger than everybody on the team back when we were at Baylor. But he was a coach that he was a position coach, I believe, at the time. But I kind of watched him do really well. I believe it was at Southern Miss, and then he moved to North Carolina. Their offenses were really good. So I'm hoping for some big things. I didn't know that. This is actually breaking news. I didn't know Coach Fedora was on the staff. What position is he? What is he the?
He's the
coordinator.
Yeah, he was at Texas for a year as an analyst. In between the fact that when he was North Carolina had a change. Of course, Mac Brown's now at North Carolina. Larry Fedora goes to Texas as an analyst, and now he's the offensive coordinator for first-year head coach Dave Aranda.
Oh, yeah, that's great. That's a great thing to bring, old Baylor Bear back. I know our offense was super basic back then. I didn't know he had all them plays in his back pocket when he went off to Southern Miss into North Carolina. I'm watching some really good offenses, but I'm glad. I'm excited that he's back on the team.
We're like, hey, man, what was all this?
Yeah.
You didn't pipe up in a meeting? Come on.
Yeah, what happened? Yeah, you have to reach out to him, and we could try to help you do that if you want to as well. Gerard Douglas was
absolutely.
He was at Judson. Of course, everyone knows the history of Judson, D.W. Rutledge, among many others, and the history of winning championships. You are, when the names of the greatest running backs in Texas high school football history come out. Kenneth Hall, Cedric Benson, obviously what Jonathan Gray did at Aledo, among, Earl Campbell, but your name is in that mix. What does that mean to you? And did you understand that at the time back in the early 90s what you were doing?
I didn't know I was going to have this many conversations about my high school career, but I did know I was really good at football at a young age. We were playing, when you put the pads on, that was actually easier than, playing in the street with, tackle football and things like that. So I always, enjoyed, playing and the contact, and it just, size didn't matter, even though back then we were the same size. So I guess I got over my fear early, but I always enjoyed it. And when I got to high school and we're matched up with Coach Rutledge, who's definitely a Hall of Fame coach, and literally he was he was probably the best coach. I've had some good coaches, but he's probably the best coach that I've ever been a part of, because he just had a way to get you excited to, he get you all pumped up the night before. You got to go to sleep, so you kind of like a caged animal, couldn't wait to, get out on the field and, make him proud. So definitely proud of the fact that I was able to play, for him and the rest of the coaching staff, because he, it's kind of like he walked the walk and he talked the talk. So what he emulated, his whole staff, followed suit. So it was a really great time for me.
You didn't win just one state championship, Gerard. You guys won back-to-back, and you did it emphatically against Trinity and then Plano, and you put up bigger numbers in the second game to win it. To be able to repeat, you guys were great in 92 or whatever, and then you had the great run in 93. What was it like, and did you feel, you knew you were good, did you feel any kind of like, man, we got to legitimize 92 by hammering and getting to people in 93 as well? Was there a kind of a burden on that?
Well, yeah, it's really hard to repeat in a lot of different sports. So, obviously Texas football is a huge thing. And, we set a goal a freshman year, like, hey, by the time we get to seniors, we're going we're gonna win state. You know, we got to make sure that we don't. You know, we saw the videos because Judson was always really good, but it was like they went to state and they lost, or they, you know, made it to the game right before, and we see the highlight film, and then at the end they're crying. We're like, no, that's not gonna be us. And we end up winning it as juniors, and then we're like, wait, we can't, you know, we got to go back to back now. So we promised ourselves freshman year that we're gonna, you know, win it when we became seniors, so we got on a high note. So it was a focus that was embedded like early on, and the team was not as good as our junior year team. That team, I matched that team up with anybody. But the senior year, you know, we had a lot of offensive lineman leave, some players that actually a player that ended up playing in the NFL. He left that my junior year. So senior year was one of those kind of like gutsy performance. Not all of them, you know, we had some 3-point victories, but we were able to get it done.
Gerard, you were able to have the career at Baylor. Did you ever feel like, when did you kind of know whether or not you might have a chance to play pro football or not? I didn't, you know, I don't know if you know my personality, but I wasn't really outspoken. But I knew I was good enough before middle school, you know, because I was always playing with like 5 and 10 years older guys than me, and I always got picked like 1 or 2. Like when we picking the team. So I was always really good at football. I never doubted I had the skills. It was just a matter of, you know, the desire to continue to do it. And honestly, that's the only thing that stopped me. I said, hey, you know what? I just kind of hung them up because I didn't want to like give the team, you know, a second tier attitude, because I was always like one of the best players on the team. So I had to make sure I don't let them down. So whenever that desire kind of like left a little bit, I said I'm walking away, because I was always one of the leaders on the team, and I wanted to make sure I led the right way. But from a ability standpoint, you know, and skill standpoint, I knew I could make it to the league. That was, I mean, I don't have any doubt of that. I was confident within myself. You know, never, you know, talk about any kind of like, you know, interviews. You don't want to put no targets on your back, but within myself, I knew I was capable.
So for a guy who doesn't like the spotlight, I mean, your high school career brought a lot of spotlight, what you did at Baylor, et cetera. So was that hard for you, just your personality, to kind of handle the amount of attention you got, or did you just take it in stride?
Well, I guess, you know, what you call an introvert. Mm-hmm. So you really can't take it in stride, even though you want to take it in stride. Right. But it's just like a little, you know, you're doing, you know, after in high school, after all of the games, they want to interview me every time. And I'm like, wow, why do I always got to get interviewed? And, you know, it really didn't dawn on me that, yeah, okay, well, I guess, you know, I'm the, you know, the best on the team. They have to speak to that person. I thought it was kind of like, you know, hey, take turns, but they always spoke to me. So uncomfortable thing. And honestly, that was one of the major reasons why I was like, hey, I need to major in telecommunications when I go to, or some kind of communications. I also ended up majoring in telecommunications, but I said I need to communicate better, because it was still the mindset to go to the NFL, and I don't want to give these short and, you know, incomplete answers and stay uncomfortable. You know, because, you know, you usually have a lot to say in your house, but when you go, you know, outside and they ask you these different questions, some of them seem like setup questions, so you kind of like, as an introvert, you really don't know how to respond. So obviously at Baylor, you know, it was like mandatory, you know. Yeah. The coaches gave me a break in high school, but after the game, win or lose, they want to talk to, you know, the people that, you know, on the front of the program.
Yep. Gerard, update everybody what you're doing now. Kind of a little bit about your life the last few years, if you don't mind, for those who are listening, the Baylor letter winners or Baylor alums or others that remember you and what you did at Baylor.
Okay. Well, as far as me, I'm in San Antonio, Texas. That's kind of, you know, that's where I came from when I went to Baylor. I came back home to San Antonio. Been in the wireless world for pretty much since I left Baylor. You know, I'm a retail store manager for a wireless company, T-Mobile. If I don't know if it's a company or not, but I've been in the wireless industry, I don't know, pretty close the whole time since I left Baylor. I love it. Enjoyed myself, kind of just laying low. That's always been my personality, but been enjoying myself quite a bit since I, left college. Definitely loved the Baylor days, but, kind of went to the next phase. Married. I got 6 kids. One of them still with me at the house. But I got, 2 in the military. Actually, my other daughter trying to start her little personal business. So pretty excited about the family that I have. Everybody just, relaxing and chilling and loving life.
You'll love this.
Enjoyed Baylor over these years. We had some ups, a lot of ups and a few downs, but I wish I had a chance to play with some of those guys that came after me.
Yeah, the last 10 years, for the most part, almost every year but one has been pretty nice. This is from, by the way, Jen Witcher on Twitter. Was a change for me to root for Gerard Douglas. I spent the previous 4 years rooting against him, watching him run all over my high school, San Antonio Churchill, and had some great games in the early 90s. Of course, Churchill used to run that town, for a while, and then Judson kind of took control of that.
Yeah, Churchill actually was probably top 5 in the city when I was there. They had one really bad year. I think they didn't win a game, but after that, Churchill was a very, very, very tough team to beat. That was one of the 3-point victories we had. I was talking about against Churchill. Against
the Churchill Chargers. My brothers went to Roosevelt. Mm-hmm. By the way, I went to Randolph. That's right across the fence from where you were.
Yep.
Gerard, great to hear from you, man. Thanks for your time so much. Good luck going forward as well.
Thank you so much. And sorry I ended up, coming on a little late.
That's fine.
I do respect you guys' time. I appreciate you having me.
We're good. Thank you so much. A lot of things on the text line. Thanks to Jen for that tweet as well.
Imagine not knowing about Larry Fedora and learning like the guy who was just like the scrubby.
That's breaking news.
Not scrubby, but he was like the young kid that was younger than some of the players, as Gerard said. And now, fast forward, 25 years, and here's Larry Fedora as the OC, so that's pretty funny.
Let's come back, break down Baylor's schedule a little bit by little bit. 254-339-1122. We'd love to hear from you as well. This is Sikkim 365 Radio. Waco Custom Marketplace. Man, you can walk in there and get something that's already been cooked and ready for you to eat. Zap it. Beef tips on rice. Texas lasagna, which is thick. It's about, my goodness, maybe 3 or 4 inches thick with cheese and pasta and meat. Or you can get chicken spaghetti. Or you can get something else that they have as a pre-cooked meal, and it's over in the bakery department where all the cookies and pastries and the bread is fresh baked every day. And then in the back, the butcher shop with all the meat market, which is what my goodness, the kind of pictures, not just from Brian Etheridge or from Taylor Bryan, among others, Me Too, where you can see these bone-in ribeyes that you can get ordered and custom ordered and cut the way you want them, or brisket or tri-tip, or maybe bacon wrapped filet, or no bacon, just a big, thick filet. And up and down the aisles, there's sweets and treats, and also you have anything for example, like Hamburger Helper, or if you want Rotel tomatoes, the kind of things you'll get in the regular grocery store, and it's set up the old-fashioned way. And if you like kolaches, they have those baked every day, ready for you. And if you like to have them and put them in the freezer, they've got some that they save back if you want to buy a big bundle of those, take them home and eat them, heat them up and eat them as you want. Waco Custom Marketplace, 425 Lake Air Drive, WacoCustomMarketplace.com.
Let Camille Johnson Realtors guide you seamlessly through the process of buying your dream home or selling your current one. Commercial, farm and ranch, or residential, Camille Johnson Realtors can smoothly and successfully lead you through any transaction with a team of 24 experienced agents who are excited about serving you. Camille Johnson Realtors services the entire greater Waco area. If you're in the market to buy or sell, contact Camille Johnson Realtors, 104 Midway Center in Woodway, or find them online at www.camillejohnson.com. Camille Johnson Realtors, elegant, charming, warm. Welcome home.
Riverbend Liquor and Wine has their easy-to-access drive-thru open and convenient and clean in-store location on the corner of Lakeshore Drive and North 19th Street in Waco. Riverbend Liquor has the best and most extensive variety of craft beer selections in Waco and Balcones whiskey, including single malt, pot still, baby blue, French oak, rye, and brimstone. Riverbend Liquor and Wine, family-owned and operated, and a hidden gem in Waco on Lakeshore Drive and 19th Street. And find out more on Facebook and Instagram.
Stepping into the boots of a U.S. Army officer can add confidence and leadership skills to your son or daughter's career path. See all the things they can achieve in our boots at GoArmy.com. U.S. Army Waco Recruiting Company, 254-598-8131, 254-598-8131.
Every man knows that you got to get it right in the bed. Hey there, Jay from Pickup Outfitters here to talk about a sensitive issue and asking you, please, don't drive around town exposing your stuff. Please, cover that truck bed. This is a very serious form of truck nudity. Trucks without bed covers, and it's an easy fix. There are so many different types of covers depending on your needs and style, from folding, rolling, locking, retractable, anything from black to silver, even paint to match the original cover of your truck. Now, all these are hard, rigid covers, just like they should be. Now, there are also some soft bed covers, but you know. So don't be driving around with a bare truck bed. It's like letting people peek underneath your covers. It just ain't right. See the different types of bed covers at createacommotion.com/covers. Won't you help us end truck nudity? Stop by our showroom and see all our bed cover displays at Pickup Outfitters, just off of Waco Drive at 220 Lake Air Drive in Waco.
If you or a loved one or friend has been arrested and you can't afford bail, trust Terry and Chase Chapman at Chapman's Bail Bonds, covering Waco and McLennan County for over 25 years. Chapman's can bail you out anywhere with experienced, knowledgeable local agents who are committed to serving you professionally, respectfully, and with the highest integrity. Chapman's understands your privacy is important. Your freedom can be secured fast when you use Chapman's Bail Bonds. Open 24 hours a day, payment arrangements available. Call Chapman's Bail Bonds. When you need help, 254-754-1603. When you ring, we'll spring.
Texas board-certified personal injury trial lawyer and Baylor alum David Willis and Baylor alum Parker Willis are ready to help if you or a loved one has been wrongfully injured in an auto accident, SUV rollover, industrial accident, 18-wheeler crash, or were seriously injured by a defective product or recall drug. Call them for a confidential and free case consultation at 1-800-GOT-HURT or visit them at texastriallawyer.com. Principal office located in Houston, Texas.
This is Sikkim 365 Radio. Text us at 254-339-1122. The Sikkim 365 Radio text line is sponsored by Riverbend Liquor and Wine, with the most extensive variety of craft beer in Waco. A hidden gem on Lakeshore Drive and 19th Street.
Got a couple of these, and I haven't had much at lunch today, but Eddie Ray's gave me a couple of what they have. In fact, I made a thing of jambalaya last night and used some of their sausage. It's delicious, perfect. I've been looking for this Cajun smoked sausage type mix that Burley Lamb used to have in Center, Texas. They used to give it to Eric, and Eric used to also give some to me, as did Burley. I have not been able to find it. Thanks to Eddie at Eddie Ray's for helping us out. We're going to nibble on this a little bit. All right, let's go to the schedule. And couple of text line notes as well. Baylor starts at home. Well, it's going to be Louisiana Tech and University of Incarnate Word. Then it's Kansas, which is going to be their opening game in the conference anyway.
Yeah, they'll have the home game in McLean on September the 12th. And then 2 weeks before conference play, which is exactly what Mack Rhoades wanted. He wanted to have that little bit of a buffer to see, if they got that first game in, have a little bit of extra time to just sort of, see how the testing was going, see what sort of the reaction was and whatnot. So they'll have that 2 week buffer. And, yeah, Kansas remains the first Big 12 opponent, so that doesn't change at all, just, some of the dates and whatnot. But the rest of the schedule, it's pretty it's somewhat different laid out for sure. It's exactly what Mack Rhoades told us last week when I asked him about the schedule. He said there will be some changes. Like as far as home and aways will likely stay the same. which it appears that all of those have stayed the same for Baylor. But yeah, there is going to be some shuffling. So, for example, who was Baylor set to play after Kansas? I believe it was Oklahoma, right? After another non-conference game.
Yep.
So their second Big 12 game was going to be Oklahoma. Now Oklahoma's their last Big 12 game, which is pretty interesting. But yeah, KU up first, and so the first two games will be at McLean Stadium.
All right, then after they play Kansas, the first game in October. Now everything's been shifted down the road a little bit. West Virginia on the road, which was going to be a later in the year game. Then open after that. I like the way the open breaks are developing. And then you have Oklahoma State at home. This is a stretch here. This is the stretch. This is like that run here. Oklahoma State home at Texas, home against TCU, and back-to-back on the road against two teams that can't stand you because you've taken away their shine, Iowa State and Texas Tech, and they've been a little bit of anger between.
And Tech and Lubbock for the first time in a long time instead of at AT&T Stadium. So, yeah, that's the run.
You handle your business in some ways. We don't know who's favored or not right now. We don't know anything. But that's the chunk. That's your core. No matter when you play Oklahoma at the end, this is the guts of your season right here.
Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, that's going to be the stretch that determines everything. And now I'm trying to find the old schedule just for a comparison. I tried to find it, but every link takes me to updated schedule. I can't find it, although I'll keep trying. But, that's going to be quite the stretch for sure. So I like that you're playing West Virginia much earlier than you were expected to. That sure beats, going to Morgantown in, I believe, what was going to be November and having to play them there. And, it's going to be quite the test. I mean, 4 out of 6 games right there in the middle are going to be road contests. And I don't know how much more daunting those will be than normal. Simply because if you have 25% fan capacity or 0 or whatever the case may be for every individual institution, it's not going to be quite as daunting as rolling into Morgantown or into Lubbock like you thought it was going to be initially, right? So that is a pretty big departure and doesn't make those games nearly as dangerous maybe as they appeared to be initially on the schedule. But yeah, we need to see what that non-con game is. I think we'll probably know that by the end of this week. But KU's pretty much the same, and then after that, it's a crapshoot. But that October 17th. After they have another break following the West Virginia game, a little 2-week break, that's going to be quite daunting. I mean, Oklahoma State should be really good. That's at home. But then the very next week, you're going to Austin. They should be good. TCU at home. They should be good. At Iowa State and at Texas Tech. That's 2 back-to-back big-time road games. And 3 of your last 4 games are huge road. You got at Ames, at Lubbock, and at Norman with only a K-State home game there in the final month of the season.
Yeah. It's going to be tough. It's going to be, but I do think that the good news is that by that time they should be kind of in a rhythm in this offense and, more so than they would be at the earlier part of the year. I think it worked out better that they have some teams that they can maybe have a little bit of wiggle room to adjust to the new schemes.
There's so many new coaches that are in their second or third or fourth year. I mean, Aranda's in his first. West Virginia, Neil Brown, year what?
2.
Kansas State? Year 2.
No, year 3, right?
No, I think it's year 2.
Kleiman's year 2.
Yeah.
Year 2, okay.
Wells, Texas Tech, who Aranda refers to as a guy that they...
Year 2.
Year 2. So...
Yeah, so I finally pulled up the old skit. I finally found it.
Some of them might be in there last year.
Oh, yeah.
Like Mike Gundy might be in his last year.
Yeah, somebody asked the question yesterday of whose jobs have been saved by not having a season. Or who will be the first guy to be fired without even having a season, like Clay Helton?
God, would that be awful?
Yeah, that would be pretty brutal. So now I've finally been able to. I think this is the updated or the last schedule that they had. Gosh, this is so dadgum confusing, man. Nope, this has been updated as well, so I can't use that. I can't find the old schedule. I can't find it anywhere. It's driving me nuts. So I'm trying to compare for you guys, and I apologize because I cannot. Every schedule on every site has been updated already, and I can't find the old one. So
well, it looks to me, based on just what I can remember about the old schedule, I think it's a little bit more. It's a little bit more manageable, and yet we don't know who they are.
Right.
We don't. And I know it's not like you play Texas and Oklahoma back to back, or Texas, Oklahoma, Oklahoma State back to back to back. It's all in there. Now you have Oklahoma State at home, and then you have Texas as well. You knew the home games were going to be. You knew the road games were going to be.
So that Tech game though was going to be a Friday game, right? It was a Thursday or a Friday game from what I remember. That's a Saturday game now. So that's something that's. That's a game that looks so much less daunting, even if they had 25% capacity, because that was one of those, like, you out to Lubbock on a weeknight, and you just know they're going to be drunk and fired up, and they would be that way whether there's a game being played or not.
Tortillas everywhere.
But, they were going to be really geared up, and I'm sure if they have 25% capacity, those fans there will still make plenty of noise and still be all liquored up and ready to go. But that's a big difference, playing there with probably 25% capacity on a Saturday versus 100% capacity first time you played there in forever, and it's on a Friday night. So that's a win in my book.
They still chuck those tortillas all over the place?
I don't think that's as prevalent as it used to be. I'm not positive on that, but I don't see that nearly as often. I know I've seen it on occasion, but it's not a calling card like it used to be. And when I say that's a win in my book, I don't mean that's a win against Texas Tech. I just mean that's a win for the schedule versus what you were facing previously. So, yeah, I mean, they're going to have their tough stretch. They're going to have, a bunch of road contests there at the end. But, who knows what that even looks like we've been saying. So it's just, kind of good to have in front of us. And, even the Iowa State return game, that won't be nearly as crazy as we would have expected it to have been when the schedules were first released, playing them on November the 7th. And if I remember the old schedule, they were going to play them in November, but I think it might have even been later in the month. So, yeah, that's not as daunting now either.
Did you find the old schedule, Craig?
No, I can't find it anywhere.
972, thank you. It was Ole Miss, KU, Incarnate Word, Law Tech.
Okay.
Then Oklahoma, off week. Texas Tech on the road.
So that's way later now.
TCU, Texas, Oklahoma State, Iowa State, West Virginia, and Kansas State.
Yeah, so there's been a lot of West Virginia's been bumped way up. Iowa State's been moved up a little bit, it looks like. And so, yeah, I mean, they've had to maneuver it around, and there are a few teams that are kind of not exactly switching places, but kind of shuffling a little bit. So, yeah, I like it. I mean, you get that Morgantown game out of the way early. That middle portion of the schedule should be fun to see how they do. I mean, because Oak State, Texas, TCU, Iowa State, Texas Tech, K-State. Here's the thing about Baylor's schedule. I don't so much worry about the road games because that's what it is, and that's not going to be nearly as the same as if you were in normal circumstances. But you get that Morgantown game out of the way early, much better than having to go and play them later in the year. So that'll be off your books pretty early, and that should be a maybe even a good indicator game there in week number 3. I feel like we should have a pretty good indication of, sort of what to expect and what things look like and what Baylor looks like by that point as well.
Absolutely. And Matt and DC just threw that in.
Yeah, and Oklahoma obviously was the big noticeable one because that was supposed to be game number 2 in the Big 12, and now it's your final game of the year.
That's from Kim in Dallas, the 972, the first schedule. Matt and DC, thank you very much as well. All right, we will have today our Big 12 tour where we've had TCU and Oklahoma. Today, it's West Virginia, who we had just mentioned that it moves up quite a bit. That's going to be at the bottom of the hour. Also, when we come back, let's discuss Jerry Jones and the Cowboys and some of the things that is that the first time that Jerry's been heard from since the sun went down?
Since before everything broke loose in this country.
Yeah. So he's back off his yacht, that thing's just, I actually went on YouTube the other day and started looking at pictures. It's just crazy. So Jerry Jones to reporters on the Cowboys, his expectations of fans at AT&T Stadium, among many other things as well. So we'll come back with that as well and a couple of the notes in sports. And then a thank you to some of the local media and even the national media for them highlighting Sikkim 365 Radio yesterday. This is Sikkim 365 Radio.
Richard Carr, Buick GMC Cadillac. The employee pricing continues on this month. It was supposed to wrap up last month, but thankfully, you still have an opportunity to get some really, really great deals. And, of course, as you know, Richard Carr, Buick GMC Cadillac, they are the people that you can count on. Employment pricing for everyone. It's the summer savings event. You pay what employees pay all month long. If you need a truck right now, you can save $8,000 for qualified buyers on a 2020 GMC SLT Crew Cab. You can save $7,000 on 2020 Acadia, $7,000 on 2020 Yukon, $7,000 on 2020 GMC Terrains. They've also got the Buick line, the Enclave, one of the best-selling SUVs so far in 2020. You can save thousands on the Buick Enclave right now, $7,200 to be exact, plus thousands more on 2020 Buick Envisions and Encores during the summer savings event. If you're looking for luxury, style, and power with a new SUV, well, check out the line of Cadillacs, the XT4s, the XT5s, the 7-passenger Cadillac XT6 right now. An XT4 can be yours for only $35,900 at Richard Carr Cadillac. You get great prices, free oil changes whenever you buy a new vehicle, and in-town priority warranty service when you buy a vehicle from Richard Carr. Richard Carr Motors are the people you can count on. A local family dealer run by Baylor alumni. They just want a chance to earn your business. So they encourage you to stop by their daily disinfected showroom and see their safety-focused staff, or they'll do you one better. And if you don't feel like it's really safe for you, or you're just one of those people that's not really looking to go out and get out into the businesses right now, they can bring the test drive to your home, because your comfort and safety is Richard Carr's first priority. So find them online at Richard Carr, that's KARR.com, or check them out in person at the Daily Disinfectant Show, or in their Daily Disinfectant showroom with their safety-focused staff, Highway 6, the Imperial exit.
It's the heat of the summer, but the real heat is what you're cooking on the grill, smoker, or in the oven. So Waco Custom Marketplace can be your go-to playmaker for summertime grilling. You can't go eat anywhere else? Be your own chef with custom-ordered and cut ribeyes, sirloins, fillets, New York strips with a focus on high-quality beef at a competitive price. Waco Custom Marketplace also has fresh deli cuts with sliced turkey, ham, pepperoni, or corned beef. Waco Custom Marketplace also your home for the freshest seafood in town. Salmon, shrimp, mahi-mahi. Great priced chicken products, whole birds, tenders, chicken breast, and wings. Waco Custom Marketplace with smoked items unique to Waco. House-made bacon, summer sausage, boudin, hot links, and German sausage. Every seasoning for every occasion, grilling, baking, or frying. Your hometown grocery store with canned goods, pasta, fresh baked bread, buns, chips, sauce, condiments to pickles, charcoal and lighter fluid, cold beer and wine. Best kolaches in Waco, mouth-watering cinnamon rolls, and here for the community every single day, helping you avoid the long lines in crowded stores, serving quality products to the Waco community. Go online for the weekly value boxes. Family owned and operated Waco Custom Marketplace, 425 Lakeview Drive in Waco, or WacoCustomMarketplace.com.
In great times or tough times, you always feel better working with someone who's there for you. When it comes to great banking, people here count on the First National Bank of Central Texas, here to help you, your family, and your business. Personal banking via phone, desktop, tablet, and drive-through, and business banking tailored for all situations, including yours. Amazing tomorrows from the First National Bank of Central Texas. Familiar faces making local decisions. Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
At Baylor University, students find their place to shine. They're faithful friends and inspirational leaders. They're championship teammates and independent thinkers. They're on the cutting edge of high tech and in the halls of history. If you want to make the world a brighter place, you can. And if you want to shine in your own way, you can. The spark you need is already inside you. Bring it to Baylor, where lights shine bright.
How did Edward Jones become one of the biggest financial service companies in the world? By not acting that way. Financial strategies, one-on-one advice, it's a big difference. And that's why Brad Wilson, your Edward Jones financial advisor, makes sense of investing. Experience the difference for yourself. Brad Wilson, 250 Sharon Drive in Woodway, 254-776-4337. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
The big summer clearance event is still underway at Allen Samuels in Waco. Now update your essential transportation needs with 0% financing and no payments for 90 days on almost everything in stock. Brand new Ram 1500 Lone Star Crew Cabs, ready to roll with 0 for 72 and no payments for 90 days. And Ram Tradesman Express quad cabs feature up to $8,500 in values. We'll save you thousands at your friend in the car business, Alan Samuels.
Welcome back to Sikkim 365 Radio.
Playing at the goal line. Brewer keeps it again. Touchdown, Baylor.
The 4 o'clock hour is sponsored by Boozer's Jewelers, the wedding ring store, specializing in custom jewelry and repair, all in-house. Here's David Smoke, Paul Catalina, and Craig Smoke.
As, of course, we know, there are sports. Our sports or is sports?
Our sports.
Our sports games going on. Baseball, of course, the NBA Rockets are at halftime, down a point in their game. So that's what's going on. In fact, Indiana up by a point. The Pacers lead the Rockets. Also, Jerry Jones.
Finally. I don't know if it's finally.
I think finally is a pretty good way. I always thought he would come out with something that would make him look good, then the organization look good.
Yeah, but I think the first thing people want to know about is what was his stance on the anthem, and I thought he handled this well. He said he talked to President Trump, a former president, which I'm betting is George W. Bush, and current and former players about what to do. And he said, we're going to show grace. I'm going to show grace. I'd like to show that kind of grace on a sensitive matter. Everybody is genuine here. I'm giving everyone the benefit of the doubt relative to any decision that I make. I have one thing. My job is to run the Dallas Cowboys. My job is to do what's right. We've asked for all of this interest, and we've asked for our players to give everything they've got. So
109 days he did not and was not available to the media.
That's got to be a record for him.
It's the third of the year almost.
Wow.
About a third of the year. At 109 days, it's the first time he was available.
Start off by asking him where he's been. Like, did anybody ask him, where have you been?
Well, he's been on his yacht out.
Well,
God
yeah,
knows. That thing can go a lot of places in a hurry.
I mean, not that I'm one of those that's like demanding to hear from him on his national anthem stance. I know that there are others that are wanting to hear his opinions on that or a variety of other topics. But I am just curious of I know he was on his yacht, but about a month ago, everybody was looking for where he was and wondering why he hadn't spoke. So it's just kind of strange he went so radio silent for so long.
Yeah, but what he is saying about the anthem is that I think he's backed off his toes in the line policy.
He doesn't have a choice.
Yeah,
I mean, quite frankly, he really doesn't have a choice. He's been able to face criticism before, better than most, but I think given where we are now, if he were to try to draw the same line in the sand as he did the last time around, that would backfire in a major way. This is one of those situations where Jerry Jones can't just be Jerry Jones and do what he wants to do. He's got to give a little. And you know what? And I'll give him the benefit of the doubt. Maybe, his viewpoint has changed. Mine changed. I mean,
he said that was then, this is now when it comes to that. Dak Prescott, of course, when he talks, that helps. He was trying to listen, gather information. He can before he came out and said his simple view. Because of his background, his belief, all that is different than a lot of other people. Not that he can't relate, but it may be tough for him to relate to what other people may be going through right now. I don't think he just wanted to speak with urgency and say something wrong. It's tough. Mm-hmm. And you know what? Sometimes we get hammered if you don't say something. And in this case, Jerry might have been smart not to say anything. And it's just crazy that it went 109 days. Also, on the Dak Prescott negotiations, we think he's outstanding. We think he's our quarterback of the future. He also mentioned financial uncertainties, unknowns created by the pandemic as a complication with negotiations. He's going to get his money. Jerry, the Cowboys plan on playing all of our football games, and we plan on playing them in front of our fans.
Yeah. I don't know if that's going to happen or not. I don't know.
But why not say that? I mean, that's
exactly.
That's what he wants.
Yeah.
It's what he plans on doing. And that, again, like anything else, that could change.
You plan a lot. That's what this year's been. You can plan a lot of things, but they could get canceled. But if you don't plan on it, you can't do it, right?
Well, Jane said that Jane Slater, he doesn't have expectation on fan size yet. I guess in the state it's still 50% or whatever as far as the planning goes. But because of the suite capacity and how much space they have. They've got 3 million square feet apparently at AT&T Stadium. So they will be able to have like pods and will be able to spread people out, but there's no word on numbers right now. But yeah, I mean, you in theory could get several thousand people in there and have them pretty far apart. I mean, more than far enough apart for what you're looking to do and keep the social distancing. So it's definitely doable with their arrangement. It's just a matter of how many you think you can squeeze in there.
Nicole Auerbach, who we've had on this show, discussions, the Division I Council meeting going on, eligibility, which is a huge deal. We just had TJ ask about eligibility, what constitutes a season of competition. There will be recommendations to the NCAA Board of Directors. If a women's soccer player only gets 9 games in, but the sport has a maximum of 20, that's under the 50% threshold, should she get or she could get her eligibility back. NCAA set August 14th for the deadline for divisional governance, and now I think they're looking more towards August 21st. Nothing wrong with moving that back, even though there's some things that are about to start competing.
Well, even if they start competing, what's the difference of making that decision a week later if, they're still in it? It's not like that, there's still some time before that time would pass before they would get through the half of the season. They could even do it after all that happens.
Yeah. Well, you got to do it where they can make decisions during the season. If you're a player and you're playing or whatever, and you kind of, I would like to know going in how many games constitutes getting my year back.
Well, it's like Max said yesterday. He said, if you're telling us that we're going to move to a spring football season and players are going to be giving up a year of eligibility for what might amount to like 6 games, then they're not going to want to play. They're not going to want to do that. He's already spoken to players and has received that message that I guess there's a number of them that would not want to do that. And I don't blame them. I wouldn't want to waste an entire year on a half a season. So if to the other side of that, what he followed up with was, but if you're telling me that we can have a spring season, you play like 6 games, but it doesn't count against your eligibility, then he thinks that guys would be all for that because it's not costing them anything. But yeah, this is going to be a real mess to sort out. I mean, it's easier for the sports that aren't playing at all. Like, look, you just get your year back, no big deal. But I can see where this would turn into an absolute mess. And I think moving forward with the fall will, as long as they're able to get that in, should provide more clarity than had they all try to do this in the spring and then it just becomes, an even bigger mess.
The spring is ultimately going to turn out to be, and I'm sure most players know this, that it's going to turn out to be a bit of a lie. It's hard to say that's a lie, but I mean, we're going to try to play in the spring. I think there's the one big issue. Take away everything else, eligibility, blah, 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 amount of games. You're going to have the good players, juniors and seniors and draft eligible players that have made that will have made that decision by January. They're just going to say, I'm not going to play. Well, then what do you do to get enough players to even make it through 6 games?
Can you imagine, and they won't do
That's
this,
one
and
issue.
they might, can you imagine if they opened up the transfer portal, the schools that can't play this fall, and why would they not?
Oh, well, I think that's the big scary concern if you're the Pac-12 or the Big Ten or anybody else that is shut down. And that's something that I don't know how they're going to manage that because, I mean, I don't see how you really stop players from transferring if they decide to do so. Like, you just say, no, you're not allowed to. What do you mean? I can't. I mean, there's no stopping it.
You're letting guys transfer just because they don't have playing time? Well, that's the same thing.
I mean, Tate Martell's transferring because he's a big baby. So, I mean, you're going to grant him, you're going to grant him whatever he desires. Guys aren't allowed to play and they feel like they need to. I mean, I don't know.
The biggest thing that people use right now is, and Tate Martell used this, was that he had, emotional issues. And I'm not saying that he doesn't. It seems like he
probably does.
He kind of does. But you're saying that COVID-19 and not getting to play and all this other stuff and your future being put on hold, not going to give you emotional issues? The NCAA's backed. I mean, they're backed into a corner on this one. So, and Justin Fields wouldn't do this. I mean, he's the name I'm going to throw out here because he's the best player to me that's affected in this.
Trevor Lawrence?
Trevor Lawrence is going to play.
Oh, that's right. You're right.
Justin,
leading the charge.
Now, so Trevor Lawrence is going to get to play. Justin Fields doesn't get to play. That could be the 2nd or 3rd, 4th pick in the draft this year. So if you're Justin Fields, if you really wanted to play and showcase yourself, now he was going to be the 4th pick in the draft. He's the 4th pick in the draft right now or above. I mean, that's where he's going to be. Now he's probably stuck in that because he's now just going to go and work with a trainer and work for the NFL. But, he doesn't get a chance to showcase himself. Mm-hmm. And Tim Brando made a great point with Joe Burrow yesterday. Joe Burrow was not the first pick in the draft when the season started last year, but he became the first pick in the draft. So if there's a guy out there that feels like he just needs a shot, and look, we're gonna in a minute we're gonna hear from Chris Hall from Mountaineer Maven, and they've got a quarterback battle between Austin Kendall and Jarrett Doege there, and that's a whole lot of meh at West Virginia. Yeah. And if you were West Virginia and somebody wanted to come and play for you, you could get by for a couple weeks before they came and lit it up for you.
Here's one thing, and Craig, you and we all brought up the deal about some of the schools and how in the Big Ten, and everyone knows I'm a lifelong Nebraska fan, and they have been irrelevant for a decade. But Mike Farrell, Rivals Mike, put this out. Can someone explain to me why people are so pissed at Go Big Red wanting to play football? Please explain that. Because they're the newbie. They're the ones that are not attached to the old school of Michigan and Ohio State or whatever. But it's a really good question.
And they haven't pulled their weight yet.
And also their state has not had much problem with, and if they were winning, there wouldn't be as many darts being sent their way. I thought it was one of Scott Frost's best moments. He hadn't had many of them. Great guy, hell of a player.
No, they're being targeted or picked on because they're not one of the originals.
No,
that's
absolutely.
very clear. And they also haven't reached any type of success so far in the Big Ten. I mean, as far as football goes, they've been a middle-of-the-road team. So they're just kind of lumped in there right in the middle. And the teams in the middle, I don't think you're typically looking to them to really make your decision for you or anything. That had to be tough for the Big Ten to pull the plug on Ohio State, knowing their championship chances. But I think they probably worried about Ohio State and Michigan and maybe Penn State, and then probably didn't care too much what all the rest of them thought, quite frankly.
And it's not like they're wanting to leave the conference. They're wanting an opening like...
Well, the NCAA came out and said, Mark Emmert said, it's up to each individual school. So if Nebraska took what the president of the NCAA said and applied it to this.
If Ohio State decided to play, which they're not, because Ryan Day even started talking already about when the season should start in early January.
He wants the mid-year release to play because he didn't need him to.
Yeah, I know. But Ohio State is relevant. And so, and they're also a big boy school. And right now, Nebraska is just kind of like the newborn that has never really fit there.
And I think it also speaks
$50 million a year, though, they want to stay.
I think it speaks to a lot of chicken-ass reporters as well who are they're free to swing at, the easy targets, but God forbid you say something about Ohio State. I mean, don't think there's not some of that going on, too, with people playing favorites and making sure they don't upset the boss.
Ohio State had a ridiculous scandal with Urban Meyer and Zach Smith. And it seemed like for a while that every time you want to say, well, how is this not Urban Meyer's fault? They're like, well, he is so far above this.
I know,
come on.
Yeah. All right, we'll have our Big 12 tour stop in Morgantown, West Virginia with Paul Catalina, Olin Buchanan, TexAgs.com at 4:45. And more from John Machota on Jerry Jones and the Cowboys at 5. Thank you. Abby Loring of Channel 25 interviewed me out at McLean Stadium yesterday on a lot of the news in college football. Tyler Bolden, who came to see us a week ago, that feature ran on KWTX last night. It was fantastic. Thank you very much for your time. And thanks to Sam Kahn, who works for ESPN.com, and the quote from Mack Rhodes that he gave us credit for, although initially it was taken down and credited on the national site, Sikkim 365 Radio. That's what we're trying to do. The tension, what we do, trying to do it right, and so many of you have reached out to us the last 24 hours, but really since the early part of April.
I'll just pass along one quick note. Since we're talking Big Ten, Adam Rittenberg of ESPN said he got off the phone with Gene Smith, who is the athletic director at Ohio State. They, like Nebraska, we're talking about exploring all of their options, and nary a word about them, but Nebraska, bad. So anyways, Gene Smith says there's not a fall option. We had hoped and just realized that not too long ago. We're all about the spring and how do we set that up. Yeah. So Big Ten's all in on spring ball.
In other words, hey, Ohio State, we need you to be the voice here.
Yeah, we need you to calm down.
When we come back, Paul Catalina focuses on West Virginia in the Big 12 tour that continues on Sikkim 365 Radio. PettyClinicalOT.com, Dr. Kent Petty in Woodway off of 84 off Old Hewitt Drive, actually Old Hewitt Road. can help you become the high-performance man that you want to be. How does he do that? Well, one, you got to contact him. Tell him Smokey sent you, pettycliniclowt.com. And tell him, it's kind of an energy issue. It could be a sex drive or stamina or something that you just don't feel right. And there could be a combination of many things. You don't sleep well, you eat poorly, you don't work out, whatever. But part of it as you get older, and sometimes it has nothing to do if you're 50 or 60 or 45. It could be when you're younger, your testosterone level diminishes. He can get blood work at a discounted rate from you. Get the results, look at the results, find out what your testosterone level is, and if in fact it's too low, he can put you in a program to help you become the high-performance man that you want to be. It's that simple. Contact him, pettycliniclowt.com. Tell him Smokey sent you. Discounted lab work. Look at the results, and if you need it, put you in a program for you to become the high-performance man you want to be. pettycliniclowt.com.
Boozers is the wedding ring store and more. If you're ready to get engaged or already married and want to upgrade your wife's ring for a special anniversary, Boozers is the place to go. With the largest selection of premier quality diamond engagement rings and wedding rings in Central Texas. They have 7 cases with over 300 styles of rings from top designers like Natalie Kay. Choose from yellow, white, or rose gold, plus beautiful top quality loose diamonds. With an in-house jewelry, they can also custom make anything you want. Bring in a picture or drawing and let Boozers create your one-of-a-kind pendant or ring. They can even use some of your old gold and diamond jewelry to create something new. At Boozers, you'll find a great selection of quality timepieces, and Boozers is the place for expert watch maintenance and repairs too. They specialize in expert Rolex watch repair for fine jewelry, watches, custom work, and more. Go to Boozers on Valley Mills and Lake Air Drive in Waco.
Boozers, the wedding ring store and more.
At Ideal MRI, we feel blessed to be part of the Waco community. We're a small family business here in Central Texas. At times like this, the cost of healthcare has never been more important. And unfortunately, significant illnesses and injuries still occur. And that's why Ideal MRI is open and here to serve you through this difficult time. So if you need an MRI, ask your doctor about Ideal MRI. You can schedule online in minutes at idealmri.com or call 833-IDEAL-MRI.
In the market for a quality metal building? Since 1943, Pioneer Steel & Pipe has helped Central Texas residential and commercial customers with metal building design, panel options, building components, and trim options. Pioneer Steel & Pipe's residential line is energy efficient, offers low maintenance, reduces insurance payments, is impact resistant, and carries up to a 45-year limited warranty. In addition, they can also help you find a metal building contractor for your project. Pioneer Steel & Pipe with locations in Waco and Bryan and at pioneersboys.com.
Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics, the team physician of Baylor Athletics. Our doctors specialize in the diagnosis and treatment of any and all sports-related injuries. Celebrating over a decade of service in Central Texas, our doctors are equipped to handle a wide range of issues, whether it's your foot or ankle, orthopedic spine care, your hand or wrist, knee and shoulder pain, or if you're in need of our arthritis or total joint clinic. Come see us at the new Baylor Scott and White Ted and Sue Getterman Sports and Orthopedic Center. Trusted doctors at Baylor Trust, Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics. Our goal is to get you back in the game.
With more than 160,000 alumni worldwide and counting, the Baylor family is growing. And through the university's expanded Baylor alumni program, the family is growing closer. With hundreds of local volunteers planning events in cities and towns around the country, you can gather with fellow Bears no matter where you are. So, get connected, get something started, get involved, and make plans to get together with Baylor alumni. Visit us at baylor.edu/alumni.
Stepping into a new pair of boots is great, but stepping into the boots of a U.S. Army officer can also add confidence and leadership skills to your son or daughter's career path. There are more than 150 occupational specialties to help them find the best fit for their future. See all the things your son or daughter can achieve in our boots at GoArmy.com. U.S. Army Waco Recruiting Company, 254-598-8131, 254-598-8131.
This is Paul Catalina's College Football Focus.
Doege taking a shot towards the end zone. Caught! Touchdown! Isaiah Asdale!
SicEm 365 Radio, Sports Illustrated Mountaineer maven Chris Hall joins us on our Big 12 tour as we hit West Virginia. And Chris, first off, the schedule's released today. There's at least some positive news now. In 2020, that coin can flip in a hurry, but at least today we can start really thinking about football and scheduling in the Big 12.
Yes, it is some very good news in all this darkness as of late. It is exciting. I know West Virginia, they already had Kansas State scheduled on the 26th. Obviously, things got switched around. Now they're at Oklahoma State. Kind of ripping the Band-Aid, so to speak, when you're hitting Big 12 play at Oklahoma State. But it is good to see a schedule and kind of have a plan here moving forward.
Yeah, all right, so let's jump in just to the season, right now. With Neil Brown, he has to build something there, and it was going to take a little time. Jared Doege took over at the end of the season at quarterback last year. That's obviously going to be a big question. Do you see that continuing on, or does he have competition for that job?
Right now, it's open competition. He's made that clear all off season. Obviously, we all kind of missed spring period to see really to gauge where those guys were, where they made improvements in the off season. If you're checking the pulse of the fan base, Doege's front runner. I don't think you're going to see anybody petitioning for Kendall right now. But I always tend to give caution on Kendall because he did start the season. Doege was injured coming in to fall camp last season. Kendall did start the season. He played with an injured thumb, lost a couple of his top receivers during the senior year, and then they had to play a lot of freshmen, redshirt freshmen, obviously a new offense, so they had a bit of a learning curve. And then they gave Doege a chance at the end of the season. I think, you got some of your starters back, and then those freshmen started to, take their place within the offense. And really, if you're looking at it, Doege may have had that it factor. There was a lot of drop passes last year. He didn't necessarily light the world on fire at the end of the year. If you really want to credit those wins towards the end of the season, you probably want to look more on the defensive side of the ball. They weren't scoring a lot of points at the end of the year. So it is 100% open competition. I would not be surprised if he did not wait until the game week to announce the starter.
Defensively, they're down Vic Koenning. He left because of the controversy there. How do they replace that? And with the Stills brothers coming back, are they pretty well set on defense?
Yeah, talking about the coaching change right now, it's an odd situation, and we're definitely in odd times right now. But it's defense led by a committee of coaches. You got Jamal Adai, who's a former player here, coaching the defensive backs, and then Jordan Leslie, defensive line, covering the front. Leslie called the plays up front last season, so there's not a big change there. So they haven't announced who's going to be calling plays as of yet, but they're going to be missing two key pieces from last season. Starting corners, Keem Bailey, Keith Washington, they graduated out. Some of those sacks that the Stills brothers had last year were coverage sacks. So replacing those two guys on the corners are going to be big. They do plan on using safeties more in coverage. Tyke Smith, freshman last year, he made a lot of big plays, but they're going to have to depend more on coverage. They brought in Scotty Young Jr. from Arizona. He's very versatile in the backfield. You see him line up. So I think the expectation with the safeties is to do a little bit more man coverage to maybe hide some of those young corners that are going to be moving up. They do have a good one at Jayshawn Miller, a JC transfer from last year, got injured. I wasn't able to play. They do have some young talent. They got to prove it on the corners, and then the defensive line should be strong. That they are missing some depth on the defensive end. You got Jeffrey Pooler up front. Recently, Taj Austin. It was announced that he's going to miss half the season from injury he sustained last season. He's going to miss half the season. So another transfer, Bryce Brand, maybe picking up the slack on that defensive end. It should still be good. They think they're going to be deeper this year on defense and more multiple. But it's going to be really interesting to see how this whole dynamic on defense through the defensive coaches, how it's going to all shake out.
Offensive line-wise, I know that's a big question for a lot of teams, but particularly for the Mountaineers, where do you see that developing? Because that's something that they're going to definitely have to get better at if they want to go from 5-7 into bowl eligibility, even if there's no bowls this year.
Yeah, outside of quarterback, this is the big question mark. I mean, we all know games are won up front, and this is a big one. They lose both starting tackles, most notably Colton McKivitz. He was a starting left tackle. He's with the 49ers now, but he played everywhere but center last year. He lined up everywhere. They were trying to do different things, different wrinkles to kind of keep the defense on their heels a little bit. Didn't work really. The odd thing is bad as they were in the rushing attack, they were pretty good in short yardage situations in the run game. They were able to get a push. It was really in those second and medium, third medium situations where they were not successful. So they're still really young up front. Yes, a lot of guys got a lot of reps last year. I don't think there's anybody right now that's safe. They do have a lot of young guys on the tackle that they liked last year. Parker Moore being one of them. He played a lot of the right tackle. So again, not having that spring practice, you really don't have the gauge. You don't have, you can go across the line. They don't have a solidified starter at the moment across the offensive line. So that's going to be really interesting. Coach Brown said just the other day that they're hopefully going to be in pads this week, get more offensive line, defensive line work, see where they're at. But that's going to be an ongoing battle up front. I think they are deep, but just the talent level of deepness, that's really the question. How deep are they talent-wise?
Do you see this team under a coach in Neil Brown, who I think personally is going to be a very good head coach? He's just going to have to build his team. Do you see them taking a step forward?
Yeah, he's been saying that this is going to be the most improved team in college football. He said it at the end of last season. He was steadfast with it all off season, up to spring practice, and even through this whole virtual period, he still believes that. I think a lot of fans are optimistic. If you go back to his Troy days, his second year at Troy, he went from 4-8 to a 10+ win season, and he sustained that the next 3 years. The biggest difference was we just talked about the offensive line. That was a senior-led offensive line and pretty much a senior-led team. So it's a totally different scenario, but I can see him taking some steps forward. This season, how big of a step? We're only going to be playing, as of right now, 10 games. That 5-win mark probably going to be about the same. How they're going to take steps is really just the consistency in the offense, getting those receivers better, and not dropping passes. I mean, I can see some steps forward, but with just the condensed schedule this year, I don't know if it's really going to reflect in the win total.
Chris Hall, Mountaineer Maven, with us right here on Sikkim 365 Radio as our Big 12 tour. And that was Chris Hall as our Big 12 tour continues. At 5:30, we've just added Kenny Boyd from Baylor Athletics. Next up, Owen Buchanan, Texags.com. This is Sikkim 365 Radio. Riverbend Liquor and Wine, easy to access drive-through window. You hear me talking about it all the time. I love it. Because I'm not somebody who most of the time needs to go in and look around. Like, I kind of know what I want when I'm going there. So I just go and I tell them I'd like a bottle of Balcones Rumble, which they always have. And maybe I'll have, and sometimes I say, I'll have a bottle of vodka or something like that. But most of the time I'm going there. I get my drink and I go. And it's fantastic. I come back home and I love it. Or, look, if you're a craft beer fan, you got to go in. You got to walk into that walk-in refrigerator and look at all the fantastic craft beers they have. The widest and most extensive selection of craft beers in Waco. It's awesome. Riverbend Liquor and Wine, family owned and operated, and a hidden gem in Waco, Lakeshore Drive and 19th Street. Find out more on Facebook and Instagram.
Stepping into the boots of a U.S. Army officer can add confidence and leadership skills to your son or daughter's career path. See all the things they can achieve in our boots at GoArmy.com. U.S. Army Waco Recruiting Company, 254-598-8131, 254-598-8131.
What are you supposed to do when you pull up behind a truck that doesn't even have a hitch? I mean, it's like looking at plumber's crack. Do you cover your kids' eyes, look away, and switch radio stations? Hi, Jay here from Pickup Outfitters, asking for your help to end this embarrassing form of truck nudity. If you have a truck, at some point you need to pull something. It could be a trailer to haul stuff off to the dump, maybe a jet ski, a boat, an RV, a horse trailer, even just a bike rack. The point is, put a hitch on your truck's backside. And at Pickup Outfitters, we actually install more hitches than anything else. Whether it's a receiver hitch, a gooseneck, or a fifth wheel, we'll cover your aspirations to not drive a nude truck. And all hitches are covered by the Pickup Outfitters lifetime installation guarantee. So cover your rear end with a new hitch from Pickup Outfitters on Lake Erie Drive in Waco, where we're fighting to end truck nudity in Central Texas. Check them out on our website at createacommotion.com/hitches.
Do you love Friday Night Lights? Would you like to have a bigger role than just watching the action to ensure the games are played fairly and safely? The Waco football chapter of the Texas Association of Sports Officials, or TASO, can make that happen. The 2020 Texas high school football season is right around the corner, and we need you to be a part of it. There's a shortage of officials across the state in all sports, and you can help. If you love the game and want to be a part of the solution, you can help our local student athletes continue to participate in games they love. Never officiated before? Don't worry. Waco Football Chapter can help you and prepare you to make the right call. And right now, Introduction to Football Officiating class is accepting registrations. Make your first grade call today by looking us up and contacting us on Facebook at Waco Football Chapter or at our website, wacofootballchapter.com. Find out more about the Waco Football Chapter of the Texas Association of Sports Officials, or TASO. Go to wacofootballchapter.com.
Texas board certified personal injury trial lawyer and Baylor alum David Willis and Baylor alum Parker Willis are ready to help if you or a loved one has been wrongfully injured in an auto accident, SUV rollover, industrial accident, 18-wheeler crash, or were seriously injured. 1-800-GOT-HURT, or visit them at texastriallawyer.com, principal office in Houston, Texas.
How often have you said it's time to get in shape? Every day, every week, every month, maybe for as long as you can remember? How about starting today? I promise if you'll just join Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness now, you'll thank me later. Hi, this is David Smoke, offering a variety of 40 group exercise classes every single week, including boot camp on Tuesdays and Thursdays at 5:15, plus spin, body shaping, Pilates, yoga, and bar. And there's a free kids club as well. Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness is open Monday through Thursday, 5 to 10, Friday, 5 to 8, Saturday and Sunday, 7 to 7. And personal trainers, Christian London and Randall Core. World-class tennis facility with pros Britt Coleman and Joe Rosa with lessons, camps, and special events. Spacious and clean workout rooms, locker room for men and women, both with the whirlpool and sauna, and now there's touchless bottle filling stations. No intimidation, tremendous camaraderie, an entirely new atmosphere, and yes, you can do this, but you have to walk through the front door. It's time to react today, not tomorrow. Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness on Lakeshore Drive in Waco.
Welcome back to Sikkim 365 Radio. This segment with Olin Buchanan of TexAgs.com is sponsored by Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness, with over 40 group exercise classes Monday through Sunday on Lakeshore Drive in Waco.
All right, here we go as we continue on in this 4 o'clock hour. John Machota, theathletic.com, and Jerry Jones, the Cowboys, and what he said today at 5. And Kenny Boyd from Baylor Athletics Senior Associate Athletics for Student Athlete Health and Wellness, will join us at 5:30 on how any of what was mentioned or said last night and how that might affect what Baylor also has to add to their protocol. I was given the tip that a lot of this stuff involving the heart, that Baylor's been ahead of the curve on that when it comes to what they already had within their protocol and system. We're now joined by Olin Buchanan, TexAgs.com, brought to you by Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness on Lakeshore Drive in Waco. Walk through the front door to change your life. Olin, what was it like yesterday knowing the SEC and A&M? They were locked in. We know the ACC was locked in. We know the Big 12 and the Pac-12 obviously were not. And waiting for a conference that has at times been a mess to maybe save college football for a year.
Are you talking about the Big 12?
Yes.
Yes. Odd around here that there's been so much acrimony around Aggies toward the Big 12 for so long, and now they're looking over there like, "Hey, pal, you know, come on, let's play." And it was one of the funniest things, complete idea or example of what 2020 has come to. On the TexAgs message board, there are posts praising the Big 12, which I haven't seen in the 8 years I've been here. So it was just so different, but not surprising because, quite frankly, I don't think you actually have to have. I mean, if you wanted to play if one conference wanted to play, if it was the only conference wanted to play, who's going to stop them? But I think to have what is going to be looked at as even a reasonably legitimate season and legitimate champions, all that, you need the majority of the Power 5 conferences to play. So I think that when the Big 12 said, "Yeah, we're going to keep trying to play," it just gave a jolt of optimism that I think everybody needed.
I know we haven't talked to you since the full schedule has come out for A&M. What did you think about how they drew on the schedule?
I don't have a problem with it. I mean, A&M already had Vanderbilt and South Carolina on the schedule, and those might be the two weakest teams in the East. We'll see what South Carolina's about this year, as opposed to, say, Missouri. But I think if you're expecting to get Missouri and Kentucky or Tennessee, along with Vanderbilt and South Carolina, you're really hoping for a lot. Now, I know, you're looking maybe to even things up as of for last year, but fact is the conference was trying to look for a way, I think, to create as much balance as possible, while at the same time screwing Arkansas to the wall. But basically A&M has the same schedule that Alabama does. Alabama plays Florida and Alabama plays Georgia.
Owen, does the schedule at all change? And I know so many things have changed, so many opinions have changed, but like your, I guess, positive outlook on the way things were sort of set up for A&M this season, given all the uncertainty, like what is your feeling now on what that could look like?
Well, I don't, I think going into it, they had in 12 games that a 10-win season was absolutely a distinct possibility. Obviously, that becomes a lot harder because you'd have to go undefeated, and the schedule got harder. But the way I look at it is, and I understand not everybody looks at it the same way, is A&M feels like they're a bona fide contender this year. And if you're a bona fide contender, you shouldn't care who's on the schedule. Yeah, it's going to be harder. But if you're good, do you really care about who's hard. Are you always going to look for the path of least resistance? So if A&M is truly a legitimate contender this year, then maybe you got to earn it a little bit, but that should be okay if you're that good.
I love that answer because you're right. And because when you're really good, Alabama looks at their schedule, Clemson looks at their schedule, LSU looks at their schedule, maybe even Ohio State among a few others. There's those dudes that are alpha dogs. And, if you have to play one or two more games, it might be a little bit different than playing a middle-level or lower-level team. You don't care. You're good. You just go play it. And you're dealt whatever hand and go do it.
Absolutely. Nick Saban is one of the guys that's one of the few guys in the SEC that's been, among coaches, really outspoken about wanting to play non-conference games. Now, the athletic directors don't want to do that because it's going to cost you an extra home game, and most of them make so much money. But I think maybe some of the coaches, say, well, that's one more tougher game. But, if you're good, why not be challenged? And I don't think the A&M coaching staff cares. I think some of the fans, after last year would have liked to have had an easier road. But, again, you're playing Vanderbilt. You got a struggling Arkansas team. Ole Miss has been up and down. Mississippi State may be a little bit down. So it's not like it's going to be the grind you had last year. Florida's no picnic, and Tennessee looks like they're getting better. But if you feel like you've got a championship caliber team, at least a contender, then say, hey, come on. Back in the day, R.C. Slocum used to say, anybody, anywhere, anytime. And I think A&M's getting to the point where they feel that way again.
Yeah, but a lot of teams don't do that anymore. They're like, well, we'll play anybody, anywhere, anytime under these 12 conditions. Like that's
true. And A&M is gonna, but A&M, they're going to do what everybody else in the West does, which is in a normal year schedule one major Power 5 team. In non-conference. That's what they've always done. But, they've just scheduled Clemson. They got Notre Dame coming up. They got Miami. So they're sticking to that, and they're showing, hey, we're willing to play tough teams. So if that's your philosophy, don't worry about losing Colorado this year and having to play Florida. Look forward to playing Florida and show how good.
Unveiled some new jerseys. Is there anything in particular that stands out, or can you kind of give us the story of the new uniforms?
Well, I think they, if I'm not mistaken, I'm not much of a fashion critic, but I think if I'm not mistaken, they look like they're like the same uniforms they wore in '98 when they won the Big 12 championship. There's a nice patch, I think, on the hip with the state of Texas with the A&M logo in it. I think that looks pretty cool. But frankly, I think it's a good look. I wish they would take a look and just stay with it. I like those Michigan, Ohio State, Alabama, Penn State. Those programs that have a look and they keep it all the time and don't change too much. A couple of years ago, A&M was getting excited, their fans and players about wearing black uniforms. I'm like, what the heck are you talking about? A&M doesn't wear black. A&M's maroon and white. So I like the fact that, they're going, keeping to their traditional colors. And I think it's a good look. I'll keep it.
It's a time where there's hope. Schedules have been printed. It's like when we saw the Big 12 schedule, just like SEC or ACC last week, it's like something you can print and hold on to. Now, how much is thrown, how many holes are in it before it's all said and done? Olin, as someone that covers the game, how have the emotions of you been Because I know it's affected us up and down, at times, but just having to know that there's hope that there will be. Practices are now started. There might be games as early as in about a month.
Yeah, I got to tell you, I was starting to feel a little bit depressed. I look forward to football season. I love college football, no matter who's playing. And I was, quite frankly, feeling a little bit depressed that it looked like they weren't going to play, and maybe they still won't, But the fact of the matter is the Big 12, the SEC, and the ACC, they're willing to take all three downs. The Big 12, the Big 10 and the Pac-12 are punting on 1st and 10. There's still a lot of time, to see what's going to happen and make some progress. So I appreciate that those three leagues are at least going to, try to play, that they're not just giving up. And I think all those leagues, the players want to play, the coaches want to coach, the fans want to see them play, the local economies need it. So I think it's the right thing to do to at least wait and try every avenue before you give up. So I applaud those leagues for at least, hey, we're going to stay in there and keep fighting until there's nothing left to fight for.
Olin, thank you very much for your time. Every Wednesday at 4:45, Texas A&M coverage brought to you by Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness on Lakeshore Drive in Waco. John Machota, theathletic.com. Kenny Boyd of Baylor joins us at 5:30. This is Sikkim 365 Radio.
One size fits all. That may be all right for an adjustable belt or cheap sunglasses, but when it comes to your financial needs, no one wants a one-size-fits-all strategy. Your needs. Knowing you. That's how Edward Jones makes sense of investing. Cam Heathcott covering Conroe and Houston, 936-756-7717 or cam.heathcott@edwardjones.com. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
In great times or tough times, you always feel better working with someone who's there for you. When it comes to great banking, people here count on the First National Bank of Central Texas, here to help you, your family, and your business. Personal banking via phone, desktop, tablet, and drive-through. And business banking tailored for all situations, including yours. Amazing tomorrows from the First National Bank of Central Texas. Familiar faces making local decisions. Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
Do you or your kids get nervous about going to the dentist? Stonewood Dental. Dr. Steve Childress, he can help.
I've spent a career taking care of patients who as children had bad experiences, and now they're adults that hate going to the dentist. If I get a kid at 3 years old and they come every 6 months, it's a happy experience. It's normal for them. Now they have an accident at 6 or 7 or 8 at school. Now they have a broken tooth or a trauma, and they have to come here. They're used to lights, they're used to the water in their mouth, they're used to the experience, they already trust us. It's amazing what we can do with that kid without it being a negative thing. But if I see a 6 or 7 or 8 year old that's never been to the dentist, and now they have a trauma or an unfortunate unexpected toothache, it's harder to do that for that kid and it not be somewhat of a negative experience. So bottom line is I try to teach kids and adults and teenagers and everybody the way I'd want my family treated, which is where it's a necessary part of life. You just take care of it. It doesn't have to be that big a deal.
Learn more, stonewood-dental.com.
The biggest summer sale is still on at your friend in the car business, Alan Samuels in Waco. The summer clearance event is where there's still 0% for 72 and no payments for 90 days on almost everything. The world's most awarded SUV is on sale. Jeep Grand Cherokee with 0 for 72 financing and no payments for 90 days. Or choose Jeep Cherokee, Jeep 0 for 72. Update your ride and save at Allen Samuels.
Liquor and Wine has their easy-to-access drive-thru open and convenient and clean in-store location on the corner of Lakeshore Drive and North Ninth Street in Waco. Riverbend Liquor has the best and most extensive variety of craft beer selections in Waco. And Balcones Whiskey, including single malt, hot still, baby blue, French oak, rye, and brimstone. Riverbend Liquor and Wine, family-owned and operated, and a hidden gem in Waco on Lakeshore Drive and 19th Street. And find out more on Facebook and Instagram.
Ideal MRI is a small family business right here in Central Texas. We're open to support you while lowering the cost of healthcare bills. When you need an MRI, ask your doctor for an Ideal MRI. Visit us at idealmri.com or call us at 833-IDEAL-MRI. Welcome back to Sikkim 365 Radio. It's time for our weekly segment with John Machota of the Outview by Pioneer Steel and Pipe, where customer service is their main focus, and best in metal, steel, and pipe for large or small projects, with 2 locations in Waco and Bryan. Family owned and operated since 1943.
Prescott gets it complete as Cooper takes it all the way.
The 5 o'clock hour is sponsored by Edward Jones Investments, with financial advisor Tom Albers, staying in touch with you and your money through these difficult and changing times. Edward Jones, making sense of investing. Here's David Smoke, Paul Catalina, and Craig Smoke.
Well, we've heard from Dave Aranda. We've heard from Bob Bowlesby. We've heard from Olin Buchanan on A&M, and also Gerard Douglas, the former Baylor and Converse Judson Judson running back as well, among some others that have been a part of today's show. Tomorrow we'll start getting back to a couple of more of the high school segments, and in fact, Lampasas coach will join us tomorrow as, of course, one of the highest-ranked teams in Class 4A coming back with Ace Whitehead. We're now joined by John Machota. We've also discussed Jerry Jones. He was available for the first time. John, in 109 days, I gotta say this, that back when camp was in Wichita Falls, like 99 or what, 2000, like 99 or 2000, whatever it was, Jerry disappeared like throughout the summer. And then he came back and he had some work done. And that was the last time I ever remember that he was gone this long. But 109 days, what was it like to finally hear from him?
I'll tell you what, you can disagree, you can agree, whatever you feel like about the way what the man says. You cannot disagree with that he's entertaining. Like he very rarely disappoints, and for him not to talk, like you said, since April, he didn't disappoint Gary either, because we're sitting here in these times where we're thinking, well, I think Jared's